Record. Okay. Hello, Mary.
Hi, Rebecca. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Great.
What are we discussing today, Mary?
Well, today we're going to start our first series together. I'm excited.
So
today's just the introduction, just to introduce to people these concepts that we'll be talking about.
Yes.
And we will be calling it Exploring Energy in Everyday Life.
I love it.
And, just to let people know, this idea basically came about. Rebecca and I are both, in the energy healing world. We are friends and colleagues.
Mm-hmm.
We thought it'd be fun to do something together.
Yeah.
And we were having some conversations, occasionally by phone, now that we're in two different states, where we would kind of just explore different topics pertaining to energy, healing, life. And at the end of them, we'd say, wow, we should have recorded that. Thought maybe this could be helpful for people. So that's sort of where this idea started from.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And we're going to be talking about the basics of healing first in a series. A few videos where we'll focus on talking about the physical aspects of healing, a few about the mental, emotional aspects, and then a few about the spiritual aspects. And then after that, some really cool ones. Rebecca, you want to touch on how we'll kind of bring it all together and maybe some hypothetical case studies or real ones?
No, you keep going.
We're just getting warmed up here.
We're just warming up.
So, in the first few, we will talk about things such as nutrition, how it pertains to energy and health.
Yeah.
We will probably talk about a modality called TBM, total body modification, which if you happen to be watching and you're a client of Rebecca's, you're probably familiar a little bit with that modality. She's been using it for a long time and integrates aspects of that into her source energy technique, which is teaching now, right? What you're teaching.
Fun.
And then we might talk about pulsed electromagnetic fields, very specific types of energy healing modalities out there. Whereas people usually, when they hear that I work with energy, they say, oh, do you do Reiki? And I say, well, a little more, I don't want to say more sophisticated, but yeah, more specific than that, so we'll be talking about that.
When the topic of energy medicine comes up, that's the first thing that most people say, and it's just like, that's just one modality. That I don't know why, but anyway, go on.
Right, and if you're a Reiki healer, that's fantastic. I went through that myself a long time ago, and often that's a starting point for some people, and then they branch out and add and develop different other tools, right. And that form the foundation. And for some people, that's just what they do, and they just continue to build upon their Reiki skills. So yeah. More power to you, whatever you want to utilize.
That's right.
It works. Which brings me to that concept that we'll be covering in general, is that, Rebecca and I both kind of share similar philosophies, in terms of energy and healing and life, in that there's no one bullet approach to anything, right, Rebecca? And there's many kind of doorways into this healing realm where, we believe we can heal ourselves, given the right information and resources, knowledge. And that's what we, are both passionate about sharing with others.
Definitely. Well, yes, it's my whole life existence. That's it. That's my message. So just not to cut you off, but we're going to be talking about the emotional freedom technique. In future episodes, we're going to be talking about evolution, forgiveness, theta healing, and we're going to be doing the case studies all on future episodes. But this is our first one, so bear with us all. But we want to just connect with, we just want to help people to expand their awareness and, just to think outside the box when, the physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual body, how they all interconnect. And, how to, when someone is ill, to think maybe it's not what you think it is. And all of that we want to just touch upon today.
Exactly. I find that traditionally or typically, someone might present with a physical malady, some physical issue, whether it's a headache, digestive issues, anything, and tend to come from the standpoint of, well, then I should probably address it with a physical approach, right? And sometimes that's totally appropriate and effective. Sometimes it's only partially. And other times we find that, the physical issue might only be kind of the symptom of something that originated more from an emotional cause or even a spiritual cause.
Right.
And then conversely, you might present with a mental or emotional health related issue, and the solution might be something physical, something biochemical or something structural in terms of addressing in the body. They're like you said, Rebecca, they're all interrelated. And what's interesting, I think, for us, getting the privilege sometimes to work one-on-one with clients and help them to explore and discover, and bring their awareness to what is really going on, so they can then have the power to shift that,
right,
and heal themselves. It's never the same.
Right.
I tell people sometimes it's like playing energy detective, and it's fun that way.
It is detective work, and that's why it's hard to write about it or talk about it, because until you have the person in front of you, you don't know what you're dealing with. You can only speculate and have an idea of the direction that you want to go into. But yes, until someone's right in front of you, every case is unique. Every person is unique.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
we might also talk about, sometimes people don't know, which route to choose or where to start,
Right.
And, some maybe more controversial topics might be around the themes of, is one modality, are there a set of modalities that are more effective than others,
Mm-hmm.
And we can talk a little bit about that, in terms of what comes to mind is the work of Dr. David Hawkins,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And who is, you know more about David Hawkins than I do, Rebecca, but you can speak to this more. But in terms of kind of assigning a value, he found a way to research and discover a way to kind of evaluate different things from an energetic standpoint,
Right?
And which things kind of resonate at a higher frequency, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
Which things are more powerful. You could think of it,
right.
So like nutrition and physical modalities and approaches might resonate at a certain level, and
Right.
perhaps an emotional approach might be at a different one, and a spiritual at an even higher one, right?
Yeah.
Make one better than the other, but they're different. And I think that's an interesting thing for people to learn about.
Yeah, and that's also hard to share with, again, unless you have a unique, a person in front of you to really gauge that. Across the board, the truth of nutrition on his scale of consciousness is about a 500, if I'm not mistaken.
Out of 1,000.
Correct? Out of 1,000, right. So that was one of the things, now we're going to get on this topic, but I mean, that was one of the things as a nutritionist, having a master's in nutrition and knowing that the truth on a truth scale, that nutrition only resonates collectively at a 500, when I'm like, well, then that's not good enough. That's just plain not good enough. If you're going to be offering health and healing to somebody just through what they put into their body, that's not the whole picture. That reflects that right there. That's not the whole picture. The other thing, now that you mention it, based on that scale, he says that the body itself calibrates at 100. Just the body itself calibrates it. So again, that's not the piece, that's not the totality either of health. It's an aspect of it. And so, yeah, you really have to step back and say, well, what is the whole picture? And let's look at the whole picture, because you can't just focus on body. You can't just focus on nutrition when it comes to, being whole, right? It just doesn't add up.
Right. And that reminds me too, why often I found that a multifaceted approach is great, in addressing any type of, challenge. Certainly for me, one of the things that's really nice about working, I do a lot of work in the addiction recovery field, is that at least with the condition, illness, if you will, but the condition, I like to say, of, addiction, is fairly widely recognized now as one that, involves and comes from and affects both the physical as well as the mental, emotional, and the spiritual, and so knowing that, people can tend to be more open, that the approach, it just would naturally follow, the approach should include, physical aspects, emotional and spiritual aspects, and that would be the most effective approach. Obviously, some may have more impact than others, depending, like you said, on the individual, because everyone's different.
Right. Everyone has their own story as to why they are the way that they are. Yeah. So let me just throw out, and just to get people to think of some of these things I've listed here. The first thing is, people that have headaches. Here's an example of, oh, let me just take an aspirin. Let me just, most headaches are digestive in nature. So, again, let's think outside the box and know that this is your body's, way to get our attention. And it may not, oh, I have a headache. So what could be the cause? Maybe you didn't drink enough water. Maybe you ate a lot of garbage food that's really stressing out your digestive system. It just, that's just one example. Another example would be, people don't realize when they have eye issues, all sorts of eye issues. It's again a reflection of the liver. So, people, that's not common knowledge. I shouldn't say people don't think this, but it's not common knowledge to think, oh, you should check your liver, or let's explore liver health when you have eye issues. No, collectively, we don't put those two together. So that, that's why we're sharing this to say, hey, maybe I don't always have what I got. And, the quote from the TBM founder, Dr. Viktor Frank, he said, you don't always have what you got. And that's because, I'll give you another example, you have knee pain, and, surprisingly, we think, oh, I need to go to, I don't know, some kind of specialist that specializes in knees. No, actually, you need to forgive your husband. You need to forgive a male, for instance. A lot of resentment in the knees has to do with male energy that you have a rift with. But, you have to know to go there. And that's what we want to, bring awareness to. Another example would be, how many people have blood sugar issues and they don't realize it's blood sugar because there's so much garbage in our current diet that they don't think, gee, maybe it's the food I'm eating. Our bodies, even though we've advanced so far in food, we really actually need to go back to the basics and go back to real nature, real whole food. I don't know what these aren't advancements. This is taking away from us. Like margarine and trans. There's so much. Our bodies are still the same. They need nature. We're a part of nature. So these advancements are nothing more than companies trying to make money off of like seducing us with these sugary type, refined type foods. But where did they come from? They're not even food anymore. And so our bodies respond with mood swings and, highs and lows. And we think we have an emotional problem. No, you just got to stop eating crap. So you don't necessarily, will you put those two together? Hopefully that's why we're putting the show together. Like, gee, maybe I ate something and now I'm moody. Maybe my body's telling me that wasn't the right thing to put in my body. And so let's start becoming friends with our body rather than making our body the problem or an enemy.
And what's one of the best ways to be a good friend? Listening. Right?
Listening. Thank you, Mary. All we have to do is listen to our body. Like another example that drives me nuts. Let's just pick one. When people have when their child has a fever, they're vomiting. These are ways that the body is attempting to or is focused on healing and strengthening itself. And instead we think that's bad and we need to drug the fever and we anti-diarrhea and anti-vomiting and all. Like, no, let the vomiting happen to get the garbage out. That the body's just trying to clean itself out. Why would you stop that?
Right. Allow that natural process and then give the extra support to your system, because obviously your system is taxed as a result of that. Make sure you're hydrating, for example, and that,
Yeah, so let's be friends with our bodies. So I don't know, Mary, if you want to throw out some insights on, connecting the physical, mental, spiritual. Do you have any insight, or you want me to just keep going?
Well, we could go on forever with examples. I mean, this is the realm we live in.
I know.
You touched on so much, Rebecca.
Well, yeah, I mean, like I said, I could keep going, but if you have something.
Well, I mean, you start off with headaches, and I'm thinking about years back working with, a holistic neurologist. It's like people come in with migraines, and migraines can be debilitating. We laugh and say we love this work and things like that, but we have compassion for people who, you know, are suffering. That's why we're doing this, right? And so take migraines as an example. Migraines could be caused by a whole host of things. You know, they can often have a hormonal component, you know, especially with women, right? And where their system is particularly extra taxed during a certain time in the hormonal cycle, in the menstrual cycle. And that's a component with a lot of them. Some of them, it has to do with a neurological cause and a certain type of neurological weakness. And that's something that can be remedied holistically as well. And then of course, you know, there are emotional and other components that we can explore. And, you know, it's not, what causes one person's migraines is not the same as another, right? So some people might be able to, you know, there might be a blood sugar component, you know, it might be all primarily biochemical. And so it could be addressed nutritionally, homeopathically, that type of remedy. Whereas others might need to see a certain type of chiropractor, you know, because there might be pressure on the nervous system structurally that's inhibiting the, you know, the brain function, right? Some of them may have developed them at a certain age where they were going through something emotionally, you know, and or spiritually, where, you know, perhaps the migraines, even though they were debilitating and painful, there was some hidden benefit to them, right? In terms of maybe it got the, let's say, 14-year-old out of visits with their whoever relative. I don't know. You know, those are the type of things where, you know, we can take one condition and show how there are so many different things that could cause it, right? And traditionally in allopathic medicine, you're going to go see this, you know, go see your doctor and you know, they're going to work within their scope of practice, which is, you know, generally kind of drugs or surgery as the solutions, you know, as the band-aids, if you will, or corrections, the best of their ability. But, you know, certainly if the cause is something else, then there's going to continue to be a problem with the system in general, right? If we don't resolve the underlying cause. And you know, I'm kind of going on a tirade here, but there's so many elements, you know, there's so many examples out there.
Yeah. So we need you know, we need a revolution, you know, so we'll just start that or be, you know, a part of the revolution, the movement where we become more aware. And in doing that, we're healing on the level that your bodies are screaming for in the first place. You know,
I mean, it also, you know, the power to heal ourselves all starts with awareness, right?
Yeah. So we're bringing awareness to our community.
Right.
So on future, so again, we're gonna, you know, please tune in because we're going to touch upon all these different topics and just bring awareness. You know, please send us your case if you have a particular health that you'd like us to explore. And, you know, you can message underneath or comment underneath or send us an email or personally contact us. And we'd be happy to maybe talk about your situation live and see if we can get to the root. But yeah, I'm having fun. So I hope you guys are too, Mary.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So this is we are just going to keep talking about energy, and I hope you tune in for our next episode. We don't know when that's going to be. We're going to try to do it as regularly as possible. And you can, you know, below the description, you have all our contact information if you want to reach us outside of this program. And we're just happy to do this, and we hope you enjoy.
Thanks for joining us in our adventures in energy.
Amen. Have a blessed day.